Let's talk about insurance. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because I thought we should have a chat about insurance. Now, recently I did a video looking at an article from the ABC about businesses struggling to claim business interruption insurance, or insurers refusing to pay out. And the insurers saying, well, we exempted ourselves out of this by reference to the Quarantine Act, but that act no longer exists, so it's a gotcha for those insurance companies. And there's another YouTuber I watch, Louis Rossman, a New Yorker. He's got over 1 million subs. Now, some of you here in Australia, unless you're in the IT or tech things, you may not think to follow him. If you're interested in property, I'd encourage you to have a look at some of his videos, particularly the stories he's gone through trying to get a new premises in New York. For anyone that's got a commercial lease or a small business, you could really relate to some of his stories. They're quite good. And he's an entrepreneurial young bloke that's doing really well. It's encouraging to see. And he's one of his constant catchphrases, pretty much, you could call it a catchphrase, I'm waiting for him to put it on a mug, is insurance is a scam. Because he's had some terrible experiences with business interruption insurance, where because the power plant got flooded, the insurance company got out of paying his insurance. Now, I was talking to Rachel about this because a lot of people, they're going, oh yeah, get the bad insurance companies, this or this. And she, reminded me, as wives often do, that as architects, we have perhaps a little bit greater understanding of insurance than the average people or other professions. At university, I'll tell you a bit of a story. Back at university, we got lecture after lecture. We even had insurance industry professionals come and lecture us. The Institute of Architects set up their own insurance arm. They came and lectured us about public professional indemnity insurance. We're required to have PI insurance. It's legislated in different states to provide a level of consumer protection. So we got lecture after lecture. They'd even tell us, take down your daily notes of every correspondence or communication. Keep a handwritten diary to track what you have. And they really hammered home what we were covered for. One thing that we've had to do several times is, I'd get a contract from, one of these builders. We'd work for them on a D&C project for a big mine or something. And it'd be a contract that's just passed down from one to them straight onto us. Because most of these PMs, they're time poor. They'll just copy and paste it, send it through. Or you'll get a purchase order. You'll send through a fee proposal. They'll go, yep, no problem. We'll do that. They'll get a purchase order, sign it, send it back to you. And then you flip on the back and there are all these criteria and issues in the purchase order, like the contract, which is just passed down from, a big corporate lawyer down to you, which you can't really accept because it can invalidate your insurance. One example is that to provide a warranty or a guarantee of a particular use. Now, architecture, we design documentation that's used for a building, and the concern is that people could make a claim where, perhaps they use the building in a different way to what you designed, so your design wasn't fit for purpose. But then if you put a warranty that it would be fit for purpose under this contract, as people are asking, that invalidates your insurance. So we often have to go through these contracts to remove these clauses. And you're often the first person ever to remove some of these clauses. Because the thing is, I'll just make the argument to clients. I go, I can't accept this because it's destroying your protection. It means my PI disappears, and then you can get the $12 in shares that my company's worth and some obsolete computer equipment, if you want to go me. That's the point of it. And that usually makes them realize. But in the construction industry, you don't really think about these things until things go wrong. And so most of the time, no one has to worry about it. It just, everything flows, you get stuff done. But it just highlighted the fact that we have a fair bit of just experience about, the limitations that our PI can provide. So I'm quite skeptical when, my insurance broker, when he recommends different products or services. And this is an interview I did with my insurance broker, Grant. And I say the old joke, and it's not really a joke. I spoke to him yesterday about this. Get a broker and get him drunk so you make friends with him. And this is an interesting interview about just some changes to one of my insurance products about non-conforming, non-compliant cladding and exclusion. Because if you're here in Australia, you're aware that there have been so many issues with dodgy cladding being put up everywhere. Now it's going to be, the biggest next thing will be polyurethane that's been swapped out for polystyrene, and people don't even realize. So have a look at that interview if you want to get a bit of insight into just the insurance industry. But one example I had, so that's showing you how just on a pretty much monthly basis, with contracts coming in, I need to go through them and assess them. Our insurance providers, they will encourage us to send them contracts or conditions from clients through to them so they can review it to ensure that we're still covered. So you've got to be quite meticulous. So you've got your insurance, and that's set up, but then you could be engaging in a contract which could invalidate that insurance. So you've got to really be on top of it, guys. It isn't as easy as you think. I mean, it's just a whole lot of legalese, and some of these policies are a bit dodgy to understand. And I mean, I'll give you an example of where a third party said some things in a meeting that actually could potentially have invalidated my professional indemnity insurance. And I'm going to have a shot of coffee while I prepare the story. So this was just when we'd started our practice. So it was Rachel and I, we were still living in the rental house at Kangaroo Point. We had one staff member, or two, I think we'd just gotten two. And Rachel was she contracting for someone else? I think she may have just been contracting for someone else and working part-time at our new office. Now, we had one client that engaged us to do some commercial fit-outs. What they had is they had a high-rise tower in the city, and they needed to decant workers out of this high-rise tower to 4 locations around Brisbane so they could renovate it and upgrade it and value add to it. We were engaged to design these 4 locations and a few more around the city. Very short time frames, of course. And, well, let's just say a government-owned business and controlled business, so a very high-maintenance workforce. Now, we were asked to engage all of the consultants under us, so as the head consultant. So architect at the top, and then we were to take the structural engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and the certifier under us, and a hydraulic engineer as well. So we were to engage all of them, which that is not too strange. I don't do it anymore. I just refuse to do it, and you'll see why. I mean, it's frustrating from a cash flow perspective because you're cash flowing all of those businesses. So if you don't get paid, you still have to pay all the subbies. You can't, this whole paid when paid, it's actually illegal. If you're in trouble, and I've had to do this once before, I rung up a consultant going, guys, I need a bit more time to pay you because such and such hasn't paid me on time. Everyone who you're in business with will understand that. If you're talking one director or one business person to another going, these guys are screwing me around, can you, give me a bit more time? Most people will understand that. If they don't, you're not going to work with them again. There's a bit of give and take there. Now, what had happened in this circumstance, we'd designed, one job, another job. They're all going well. We were meeting tight time frames. It went fantastically. But there was one job where there was an issue. Now, what had happened is the electrical engineer had designed the lighting in this commercial office fit-out. And they'd done a lighting calculation, but they'd just done it off averages. They hadn't actually taken account of what we'd actually designed. And what had happened is with the light that they'd specified and just the design and the layout, it was very bright. It was very, very bright. So the light level was, well, I would put up with it. Well, see, I'm used to working back then, drawing on paper, sketching. You want a high level of light. So depending on what you're working, you have different lux levels. Now, the light level in this office was too high. So, of course, all of the workers complained. They all had issues with it. They were getting headaches and they were complaining about it. Or so they say. So, what we did, we had a meeting with the client, and then we had a meeting with the engineer. Now, during that sit-down meeting with the engineer, they said one thing which pretty much invalidated all of my insurance in that instance. And you got to remember, they were hired under me. They were hired under me. So they were professional, engaged to provide the service. So to get to them, the end client would have to sue me and then sue them. Or I'd have to, my insurance company would have to go them. So that's the fun of that whole process. Can you see why I don't engage engineers under me anymore? These are some of the lessons you learn when you're new in business. So what happened was, in that meeting, the engineer said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, it was our mistake. We'll sort it out." And you're thinking, well, that's perfectly reasonable. Any normal person would say something like that, which is true. But we're not normal people here, guys. We're talking about the insurance world, and lawyers, they're not normal people. You know, they don't understand human emotions, particularly when you get in the way of a big cash settlement. And there's a Simpsons reference for all of you. So, in the end, it all worked out. You know, I drove down there with one of the younger engineers who, you know, and we had to move a few fixtures and fittings around. The engineer absorbed that cost. I think it was $500. So, in the end, it was all fine. And actually, the tenancy is now completely gone anyway, because the end client achieved their goals. This was years ago, when we were first starting out. But the instance was, by admitting that fault, the client could have made a note down into it, and then my insurance company could have said, "Oh, well, your subcontractor had admitted fault in this instance. By proxy, we now don't have recourse against the end client." There you go. The risk is it could also have invalidated their PI. That was a small amount to solve this problem. It wasn't that big a deal. You know, these type of things can happen on projects. Now, I insist on a much more thorough lux level analysis from all of my electrical engineers, actually a proper light mapping of it. Because this is the thing. You've got to be, a lot of people will, every project is bespoke, and a lot of people will just use standards rather than actually analysis because, well, it saves time and there probably aren't many fees. Lesson learned, hey. But there you go. There is an example of where a third party put me at risk just by what they were saying in a meeting. And this is the world that we're in with regards to your insurance. So you've got to understand what you're covered for and how it works. And this is why I encourage you to make friends with a broker, so they should be on your side. Helping you with, you know, what's going on. I just spoke to Grant. I'm trying to organize some insurance for my YouTube channel. You know, just for talking things like this. I've had instances of lawyers sending me letters and things like that, which is all fun and games. Wait, that's not what I wanted to look at. So, I mean, honestly, have a look at Lewis's videos, or particularly about the ones about insurance. I recommend it. But, I mean, coming back to this, you've got to be aware of actually what you're signing up for. In this instance, you had people who were paying extra for pandemic insurance that were protected. Businesses that paid an additional premium for it. There's certain insurances that I won't bother getting because the premium just isn't worth it. You've got to actually understand what you want. Some people will just get insurance because it's the thing to do. Oh, everyone gets insurance. Oh, you need this, you need this. You know, and they'll probably just get the store-bought stuff, the prepackaged retail stuff. I don't trust that. You know, spend a little bit extra to get someone to actually go through it and tailor a product to your need. At the very least, they can negotiate with all the different underwriters. You can't go to them directly. That's probably the takeaway from all of this. Two lessons. One is, don't engage engineers as a sub-consultant. The risk isn't worth the reward. You know, what would I charge? I charged a 10% management fee on top of their fees for that. It really wasn't worth it, honestly, for the potential risk. The bigger the project's got. So now I just flatly refuse to do it. Now, that's the thing with a lot of government work. That's an expectation too. I put a tender in, about 2 years ago now, and you know, I got a whole team of engineers together for this, and one of them, it was for a little school, a few-story building, and they said, "Oh, you know, we've worked on other jobs like this, similar to this. The architects are probably only getting about $100,000 for the job." And you may think, "Oh, fantastic." But you've got to understand, that means you're cash flowing all of the engineers under you. You're doing all the work. There'd be no profit in it. No profit. So you've got to understand. So there's some takeaways and lessons I've learned just with the dealing with insurance in a professional capacity. We've only ever had to draw upon our insurance twice, and both of them we got paid and it worked out quite well. But it's just, I guess, having an understanding and having good people on your side. What do you think? What are your experiences dealing with insurance in a professional or a retail capacity? I honestly can say I've only ever... Yes, no, I had my car. I backed into it. This is embarrassing. When my mother was selling her house, I backed the Kia into the buyer's car. So she was there talking to my mother and sorting some stuff out, and I backed in and hit her car. And so that was the only time I've ever actually had to claim on my retail insurance. And that was a whole other journey, getting a car fixed. That was just a completely different world. Took forever. So there are a few anecdotal stories about insurance. The takeaways are: don't hire subbies under you guys if you can avoid it. Appreciate where your lines of risk lie. You may be signing up to a contract or terms and conditions which could invalidate your insurance. If you don't have a relationship with your insurance provider, particularly PI, where you can send things through and they can give you advice on it, find a new provider. Seriously, find a new provider. Or you're going to have to get your own lawyer to go through everything just to make sure everything's good, and that's additional cost. You still probably have to anyway. And don't be afraid to inform people, well, if I agree to that, I'll be invalidating this, and then you'll only be able to, your protection will diminish significantly. So there you have it, guys. What do you think? What experiences have you had with insurance in a professional capacity, and what lessons have you learned in business that you wish you could tell your younger, stupider self? Anyway, guys, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays or Teespring, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.